Welcome back to the Mina Show featuring Lenny, the only NFL podcast where one of the hosts hears the name Chris Shula and thinks I'd like to chew on those laces. That's Lenny. I'm Mina Kimes. And as I occasionally do on this podcast, you guys know I like to bring new voices on every now and then. So we are doing that today. This is a guy who works on NFL Live, does fantastic matchup reports for us on the show every week. And they're really similar to, honestly, what we do on this podcast, which is looking at these games from a matchup perspective, trying to find keys. He comes to ESPN having worked with the Falcons and the Chargers. He was college quarterback, right?
I was, yep.
Marist. Luke Strnad, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mina. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to getting through some matchups with you.
So I didn't tell you this, but the first year that you worked with us on NFL Live was last season. And I think I didn't know you at all. And we were about to talk about the Broncos defense. And I was about to really go in on Justin Strnad and be like, there's a clear weakness on the Broncos defense. You got to. And then I was like, oh my God, are they related? I actually felt bad thinking you might be offended if I criticized your cousin or something, but you are not related. You just informed me.
We are not. No, I wish I was. I will say, I wish we were, but we are, not related. That was the first thing that honestly Dan reached out to and did say, he goes, are you related to Justin Strnad, the linebacker in the Broncos? And no, unfortunately not. But
I will say he's actually been better this year. I was thinking that last week.
He you know what, Mina? He honestly has a little bit more and a little bit more athleticism to him than I do. So I'll put it like that.
Just a scotch. All right. Well, I'm excited to talk about that game with you. We're going to talk about, as always, all of the games. Some of them we're going to talk about at more length than others. There's no Rams Seahawks or Seahawks Rams this week or Lions Eagles. Just like, oh my God, finally get to see these two. But there's some good games, and I would argue Thursday night football it's certainly a meaningful game. It's Bills Texans for those who don't know. So Stroud still out. Really scary, by the way, when you see the concussion and it's like gets to be multiple weeks. You never want to see that. But this offense has looked capable with Davis Mills, certainly, who's probably one of the better backup quarterbacks in football. So as always, I'm taking the home team. You're away. Your key is Buffalo. We've done a lot of Bills coverage on NFL Live, so I've heard some of your thoughts on them already. But what do you have as a key from the Bills' perspective in this game?
Yeah. After watching film, I honestly taken a look more at their run defense, right? Oof. So they're obviously struggled completely on all three levels of it. So diving into the film, it was basically watching them adjust to motion. So my key, Mina, is just Bills run defense with motion, just against opposing running backs. They're averaging 5.9 yards per carry and giving up 16.7% explosive run rate. So, I mean, and like I said earlier, it's on all three levels. Their interior D-line getting displaced up front. Their linebackers are getting out leveraged with that motion. They're bumping their backers, and their backers aren't getting their angles off of it. Their safeties aren't coming down in the run fit, and it's horrendous right now. So just really all in all, it's very bad. And honestly, too, it's not like they're running at Joey Bosa, they are running at Joey Bosa.
Yeah.
And, they're struggling with misdirection and, et cetera. And it's, it's very bad.
The Bucs ran zone read at Bosa, and because I don't think they've run zone read since he's come back, but the Bucs haven't run it with Baker Mayfield, who's, a decent athlete. He's a good scrambler, but they clearly identified that as being a glaring weakness. And honestly, in that last game, there was a third down. It was 3rd and 6 or something, and they threw it. It was an incompletion. And Luke, I'm watching that thinking, just run the ball and then run it again on 4th down. I would have never stopped running on this Bills defense because you're absolutely right. They're so fundamentally unsound. And to your point about motion, when you watch them from the end zone view, it's like the linebackers are pulled on a string by anything. The Bucs were throwing, I think we talked about this on Live, the big touchdown you had, I think Cam Johnson come across the formation, but they are so susceptible to it. They get Ed Oliver back at some point. I think maybe the playoffs is where they're looking to. So that would help on the defensive line. But like, I'm looking at the second and third level, and I don't know how this gets better because it just feels like they got old and they are suffering for it.
Yeah, and right to your point, piggybacking off of kind of who's looking like his age is catching up is Matt Milano.
I know. I hate it. Right? I love him so much, but it's hard to watch.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm a huge fan too, but that was one person that stood out to me. And then a lot of missed tackles too. I know I brought it up with the safeties, Tyron Johnson and Jordan Poyer. Cole Bishop's playing well, don't get me wrong, but it's the safeties that, coming down, fitting the run and missing tackles, and then explosive plays are happening like against the Dolphins, A-Chain, ripping off a couple of big runs, and then looking at this past week with the Bucs running counter, the GT counter with Sean Tucker, so they're going to have to fix this and fix it quickly.
I guess just to make this more matchup specific, though, do you think it's an issue against a Texans team that we know is not particularly good at, like, if you're Nick Caley in this one, you're not good at running the ball, but it's so obviously the way to attack Buffalo. Do you think that they lean into it and just try to take advantage of their weakness?
I think they really should. I think it's a big game for the Texans. And this is, what's a better game than this upcoming week to kind of get your run game going a little bit, getting a little bit electrified. And the big thing too is with Davis Mills, they've actually been running motion a little bit more. And they've had some sort of success with it. And honestly, having 4.8 yards per carry also with motion under Davis Mills. So I think it's something that we'll be looking for on Thursday, and something that they definitely need to do.
That is an interesting point about Mills in the run game. Because I would say it's not as awful as it was last year. It's a little bit better, but obviously still not a strength like, I don't know, the Dolphins, for example, who I think, have one of the better backs in the NFL. And the Bucs as well. Yeah. So I'm on Houston in this one, and I just wrote, can this Texans defense did what they did last year against Josh Allen? Because people forget, Josh Allen's MVP campaign was amazing, except against the Houston Texans. I mean, I went back and looked at my notes from that game. I mean, they just killed him last year. Going back and reading some of the numbers, because they lost to them 23-20. It was a close game. But Allen was pressured on 46% of dropbacks in that game. Oof. He went 1 for 14 for 24 yards under pressure. Couldn't get anything going against man coverage or downfield. They blitzed him a lot, which was interesting. I find the man coverage note to be something I would also keep an eye on in this one, because if I was playing the Bills, I would play a fair amount of man coverage. Josh Allen this year against zone coverage is second in QBR league-wide, 75. Against man, that drops to 18th. And that's a reflection, of course, of the Bills' lackluster receiver core. It does make you vulnerable to QB runs, obviously, but I still think, this Texans defense is so sound. They're the anti-Bills in that regard, and I think that they can put the clamps on them on offense.
Yeah, no, and to going off of your point, too, of just the receivers and man cover, Shavers obviously stepped up a little bit, right, this past week. But yeah, that's been their kryptonite, not having necessarily a go-to down-the-field threat receiver, in my opinion. They have Keon Coleman, right, who can win a little, bit vertically, I guess, 50-50 balls and some sort. But they definitely need somebody to step up.
Still no Kincaid, by the way, I saw.
Right.
So he's the guy who I'm like, maybe he wins against man coverage. But okay, so the Bills are actually favored by 6 on the road at Houston. And I get it. It's Davis Mills. But there's absolutely, in my mind, a world in which the Texans just win a disgusting, 14-10 kind of game. I'm so tempted to pick
13 to 10.
Yeah, right? I definitely have them covering.
I think so too.
It's just straight up. Dare I do it?
Hey, if you trust it, go for it. I've been going back and forth a little bit too, but I'll let you take the reign first.
Yeah. I mean, the best unit in this game is very clearly the Texans defense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go Bills just because I think Josh Allen could scramble in this one, and that could be the difference. But I don't feel good about it. I don't.
That's all right. Now the pressure. I'm gonna take the Bills. I think it, but you're right too. Houston's defense is tough. I mean, yeah. I'm gonna stick with the Bills though. I'm gonna stick with my first.
The Ringer NFL show, and Shilka Patio's the host, asked me to pick my top 3 defenses that you can count on the most. And I was like, the Seahawks, the Eagles, obviously, the Broncos. I just kept going back to how talented the Texans defense is. They don't have flaws, in my opinion. So I don't know. I don't feel great about it. All right. Let's do Steelers Bears. This one is one where you're going to watch the news because Aaron Rodgers is questionable. I think last I saw Brooke Pryor, covers the Steelers for us, said something about how he isn't quite comfortable taking snaps from under center right now, which is part of their offense. I guess it's a wrist injury, which would explain that. So I gave you the Steelers. I have the Bears. I'll go first. This is in Chicago. I wrote just attack the linebackers. That's what I would do if I was Chicago. Both pass and on the ground. I am not persuaded that this Steelers defense has fixed some of the problems we saw through much of the season. The Bears offense has really started leaning into the 2 tight end. As I think in the last game, they used it most of the time, 12 personnel. The Steelers matched that most of the time with base defense, putting their linebackers on the field. I'm throwing on them. I think this could be a big Colston Loveland game, big play action game. And then if they overplay the pass, which is kind of what they did against the Indianapolis, pardon me, then I'm running on them. I really like what I've seen from this Bears run game, under center, outside zone. I think it's become one of the better outside zone running teams in the league.
Yeah, and really, I would say that both teams, I feel like you can run the ball on, right?
Yeah.
It's
totally agree.
The Steelers, their run defense isn't great, and Chicago right now is giving up 5.2 yards per carry. So and that's tied third most when teams are in jumbo, because I love the Steelers in jumbo with the two receivers, 1 tight end. So it is 5.2 yards per carry when the personnel is in jumbo heavy, and when that you're getting a run first look. So I think that that's my key. So jumping into it, it's just Pittsburgh's run game in jumbo when they have 6 linemen, 2 receivers, 1 tight end. I think they can do some real damage with that. And they also average the Steelers too 7.1 yards per carry in that personnel grouping.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it was. I was shocked when
they use it a decent amount now too. So it's not just it's tiny sample size.
Yeah, because they obviously they'll use the 2 tight ends, still have 6 linemen. They'll have the 2 tight ends, right? So, but whenever they were the 2 receivers, 1 tight end, having 6 linemen, they ran it better than just having that same jumbo package and 2 tight end, 1 receiver, whatever. But yeah, it was very interesting. And then they obviously just have a lot of success running, just strong toss, outside zone, getting guys moving horizontally. And so I think that'll be something to look for.
Bears give up 5.7 yards per carry versus outside zone, according to FTN, which is the 4th worst in the league. I completely agree with your point. I also call it extra jumbo because Darnell Washington is basically. I saw. I don't know what he was on, but I saw he revealed that he's actually 311 pounds today. So
really,
I think he's listed as under 300, and all season long, everyone's been like that. That's not right.
Yeah, I didn't think he was that big, but now
he's a big fella. Well, I actually, though, Luke, to your point though about I think you were in agreement, kind of similar on both sides. They should be able to run outside zone, but I do think Rodgers' hand plays a big. That matters a lot in this game because you want your quarterback to be able to go under center and potentially play action off of that. And if he can't, I think specifically too, given the matchup when we're talking about, if he can't go under center, I really would not put him out there. I would just stick with Rudolph.
Yeah, no, and realistically, I do think they're going to run the rock a little, right? Both sides are, like you said. But I don't think necessarily have, like, there's some factors to it, right? Like Mason Rudolph's not going to get rid of the ball as quickly as Aaron Rodgers does. And, I'm sure when they do RPOs, it's not, he's not going to get it out of the perimeters quickly. And it's, so I think that will play a role in it. But I think Mason Rudolph will take shots downfield more. I think, open it up a little bit. And, like the deep ball he had to DK, this past week. So it was something I think that they could work off of, and especially just trying to get DK the ball, just at least throwing vertical shots and kind of helping him out in that way. So.
Yeah, you want to be able to punish the Bears if they really overplay the run, and I do worry about their ability to do that with Rodgers if he's not going to push the ball down the field, if he's not going to boot, if he's not going to, so like I really do think that has to factor into consideration. Really quick on the other side of the ball, we've been talking about the run game. From a quarterback perspective, like what have you thought of watching Caleb Williams over these past few weeks?
Yeah, he looks really good, doesn't he?
I like it.
He really does.
Yeah.
I know.
What do you like best about what you're seeing from him?
I would have to say just the way he scrambles and just makes plays out of nothing, right? Just getting outside the pocket and keeping his eyes downfield, and he does and also too just a good job of just playing on time and rhythm right now too. Off of play action, getting off at the top of his drop and letting it rip, So I think him and even intermediate route, like this past week, he struggled a little bit throwing the deep ball, but he I think overall though, just off of play action, him playing on time, rhythm, getting the ball out, making good decisions too. There's not, you look at last year with him, he's forcing the ball, he's taking sacks. Obviously their O-line was pitiful, last year. So they revamped that category, but I think for him, just doing the things that he's doing well right now is going to lead to a lot of success for him going forward.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed, I think, the play action pass is just really, it feels like him and Ben Johnson are kind of melding minds a little bit more. Mm-hmm. They're finding a way to kind of graft his skill set onto his offense. The watching him this last week, the thing that just like blew my mind, I just couldn't believe he wasn't sacked on a few plays. Like I was just like, how the hell? Like it made no sense. And that's always been his superpower, but it wasn't his first year in the NFL. So it's, the ability to escape pressure is just unbelievable. And, some of those aren't turning into like gigantic plays the way they did in college per se, but still avoiding those negative plays as a quarterback is really a special skill set. So I'm taking Chicago in this one. And that's regardless of who plays quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And I am also taking Chicago. And I think we're 2 for 2 right now.
That's all right. We usually, there's been weeks where we only have like one different. Last week, Ben and I had a lot different, but there were like really close games, so.
I think this one could be a close one too.
This could be close, yeah.
And it's a big game for just playing in their division. So
huge. Yeah, I mean, for the Steelers, it's, the Ravens now are back at 500.
They're right there,
so, yeah, we'll talk about them. Okay, Patriots, Bengals, pretty significant mismatch. This one is me. We don't really have to talk about the Patriots offense against the Bengals defense because I think they'll have a lot of success. There you go. I really like, by the way, the Patriots, what they're starting to do on the ground, too. I think the run games looked a lot better with Henderson, and it's happening in part because defenses are so afraid of Drake May throwing downfield, as they should be. But love that matchup for them. You all know what the Bengals defense is like. I just wrote, for them, Bengals to have a chance in this one, can they exploit the Patriots in coverage? Because Patriots pass defense have been that great. And there's a litany of reasons for that. I would say it starts with the lack of pass rush. I think they're like 27th in pass rush win with a standard rush.
Yeah, not good.
It's not great. I think Gonzalez is I still believe in him, but there's some regression there. Davis hasn't quite been, I think, what they had hoped. And then the Patriots structurally really try to stop the run. Like they put a lot of guys in the box and they're great against the run, but sometimes I kind of think they leave their secondary out to dry. And, we've seen with this Bengals offense with Joe Flacco, it's obviously not perfect, but even without Jamar Chase, who is suspended due to his spitting. I still think T. Higgins is a mismatch opportunity that the Bengals could take advantage of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just with Gonzalez possibly, rescinding a little bit, but being with T. Higgins and his ability to win just one-on-one matchups and with Carlton Davis too, that you were talking about, depending on if he's also on T or whatever. I don't know if they decided to, travel Gonzalez this game and say, hey, maybe Yosef Ajay can, try to beat us. Who knows? But I think the Bengals just have to attack the Patriots secondary also.
Right, because they're not. I don't think they'll be able to run on them. So.
Right.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, Patriots. I could see them. They don't play as much man as they did last year. So I was gonna say I don't think they're gonna do one double, but I could see them bracketing T and.
Something.
Yeah, something. Yeah, I don't know. I the Patriots' pass defense is the only thing holding me back from fully believing in the Patriots as the play. They're obviously a playoff team, but a real Super Bowl team, because I just watch them week after week and they're not as good as they should be. I feel like.
Yeah, going deep in the playoffs. You're saying. Yeah, it's tricky. That especially with them going with deeper competition down the line and having their running nickel the high percentage of the time, and it's who they're not going to be able to stop teams, I should say, maybe running the ball. I know they're has some success, but I think that's
really a team like the Colts is one I'm looking at. I'm thinking,
it's not a great matchup for them.
They have the Ravens. That's obviously a big test too with their nickel defense, because of the Ravens and the passing game going through the tight ends the way it sometimes does. But are they real? Because this is often discussed with the Patriots is how weak their schedule is. So you get the Bills again. That should be interesting. Ravens, Jets, Dolphins, Washington, Vikings, Giants. So we might not learn a lot about the Patriots.
Yeah, no.
But we will see them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You are Giants, Lions. Oof.
Yeah. Yep. And,
sorry. I assume you're on the Patriots too.
I am on the Patriots. Yes. And I believe that T. Higgins can also take over the game like Chase will. So moving on to but Giants, Lions was me. So I kind of dove into watching Jared Goff struggle so much just under pressure, right? Just especially interiorly. I think there was 5 tip passes batted down. Jordan Davis was a big one. Obviously, Jalen Carter is huge, and so I think, and also to Jared Goff under pressure versus Philly, he was 1 of 14, 40 yards and 2.9 yards per attempt, right? So it was just not good. So I end up my key being just New York Giants interior pressure versus Goff. So see if Dexter Lawrence can kind of get there, having 15 QB pressures, right? I know he gets double teamed. I think, a little over 59% of the time. Brian Burns having 13 sacks right now. So depending on, obviously, Abdul Carter, but some way of getting home with stunts and twists and, just trying to create some sort of chaos and disrupt the pocket a little bit, I think will be huge. And it honestly helps too, because Giants like to play man, right? So especially last week, I thought Jordan Love played phenomenal. So, the Giants played 51.7% man against the Packers last week. So overall, though, this year they're playing 43.5% of man. So, it gives them hopefully some time to get home with their pass rush, So, that's kind of where I'm at.
If I'm Detroit, Jahmyr Gibbs, 25 carries. There's zero reason to throw the ball on this. You're 100% right. It's obvious. I think it's going to be the same thing with all Lions games, is if you want your defense to be able to get interior pressure, and different defenses get to it in different ways, right? Like with Minnesota, we talked about the cross dog blitzes. With Philadelphia, they did blitz Dean once, but their defensive tackles are just so good. But the Giants' run defense, especially on runs off tackle, is pretty abysmal. You run at those corners. You talked about them playing that's the biggest like mismatch. One of the biggest mismatches all week, I would say, is Gibbs running off tackle versus this Giants defense. Could get ugly.
Yeah, and David Montgomery, both. So it's, yeah, I mean, they're just as bad as Buffalo, their run defense. So it's gonna be something. But I ended up taking Detroit for this one.
I mean, the Lions defense is also so nice. Like, they've really impressed me this season, and I think they're so well coached and should have the ability to turn over. I think it's Dartback, or is it still Winston? I know I should actually.
Oh, I think
it does
it's still
matter.
Winston.
Yeah, I think it is still Winston
For one more week. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's one thing that Dart needs to end up doing too, is just protecting himself a little bit.
Yeah.
Getting down, pick up as much yards as you can, but to get down.
No reason to rush him back, given where things are going. Right. Okay, obviously picking Detroit as well. So I've got Vikings Bears. I don't even want it. The JJ McCarthy stuff this week's been brutal, obviously. And with him, it's not even like from a matchup perspective, it's not that interesting to talk about, because it's just so like he just has to improve his accuracy and timing, and like that's kind of all it is. I will say the Packers defense against in rhythm passes, which is 2.5 seconds to 3, drops to 29th in EPA per play, which was kind of stunning to me. So if you can play on time, but again, that's been a bigger issue for McCarthy. I'm more interested in the other side of the ball, because I think this is a great matchup. Matt LaFleur against Brian Flores' defense. And my key was, can Brian Flores basically dictate to the Packers and get them to play the way he wants them to play, which is to say conservative. I think he's going to put a shell on. This Vikings defense has been susceptible to big deep passes, explosive plays. I think he puts a shell on him. I think he basically begs or the Packers to run the ball. And I think, LaFleur loves to run the ball, and he might oblige. And I think that's potentially a win for Minnesota if they get them to turn this into a game where they're very run-centric. Josh Jacobs is out, so we're looking at Emmanuel Wilson, who's been fine, but I'm still not as much as this Vikings defense has been up and down against the run. If they can get Green Bay to be conservative, and they're very good against short passes, they're one of my favorite defenses to watch against screens in the NFL, and they get them to just, check it down, run the ball, I think that's how Minnesota makes this thing close. Yeah.
And honestly, Edgerrin Cooper, too, is one of those guys that comes down and plays, covering the quick passes as well. What you
Green Bay,
you were talking about,
good. They're both really good screen defending teams.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you're exactly right, too. I think, just the big thing, too, watching JJ is just the disconnection with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. I know I put this in my notes a little bit too, but just going off of his inaccuracy issues, but it's also just mechanics too, right? He's throwing with a wider base. He's not pairing up his upper body and opening his chest, and just that's kind of where that inaccuracy is coming from too, and just losing power. But it also plays a role with just him dealing with pressure too this game, I think. Just with
McCarthy,
how good
JJ,
McCarthy. Just how good the Packers defense is, just with Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary. Cooper obviously coming on. Just if there's a blitzing, whatever. But it, I think he will struggle with that portion of the game if they can get to him pressure and wise. And I think you're exactly right too with LaFleur running with Marshawn Lloyd. And I think he's look good too, just with vision getting downhill, and can also do it as a pass catcher a little bit.
I'll be interested in seeing, I know we're kind of bouncing back and forth between the quarterbacks, but just to go back to the Flores side, I'll be interested in, because Love has had up and down performances against them. But this year he has been exceptional against the blitz, and obviously Brian Flores loves to blitz on early downs, kind of unique blitz, the structure he plays behind it. I'll be interested if he avoids that in this game and is a little bit more straight up, because I think Love has been really, really good at identifying pressure and finding his answers. And this Packers offense is just so inconsistent in terms of, you don't need to make it easy for him. Mm-hmm. But I guess, I just feel like if Minnesota can make Green Bay play this conservatively, Green Bay will oblige, and that's what I don't like about because you talked about Jordan Love and how well he played last week. They were more aggressive, which was nice to see. Some of that too. He had some obviously crazy out of structure plays, a lot of drop passes. But I was watching that thinking, was this just, you're going against the Giants? Because, we've been wanting Matt LaFleur to kind of take the governor off this offense a little bit. And I just worry that against Brian Flores, he might go back to that low average depth at target, that heavy run emphasis on early downs. I think that would be a mistake in this game.
Yeah, no, and I 100% agree with you too. And another thing too, that watching Jordan Love just throwing into pressure and creating throws outside the pocket, kind of what you alluded to. And I think if they do I know we've talked about this before, is just them getting away from what they do best. But it's realistically trying to not limit Jordan Love, right? Just don't clip his wings a little bit. Let him play like how we played last week. And their pass catchers got to do a better job of catching the football. Yeah, it's this plain and
doing
simple.
The thing that they're being paid to do.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it.
Dobbs
watching Jordan
killed
Love,
me a couple times last week, and he's usually I find him to be the most reliable. But there was one where Love shook off Abdul Carter. It was it was like a dig or something, and he just dropped it, and it wasn't like a perfect ball, but it was a really difficult pass, and it was just watching that and then there's a slot fade to Watson that he threw that was just in a bucket. I mean, it was a beautiful throw, and it just doesn't catch it, and I'm just like, oh my god, how are we still here with Green Bay? Just so frustrating.
Yeah, there even the one he I forget where it was. He rolled out and flipped his hips. I think rolling out to the left. Is that the Romeo Dobbs one that you're talking about?
No, it's a different one. I know you're talking about.
But I was, oh my God, it was, it's such a good ball.
I love that confidence from him, though. I like that he's attempting all of those throws. I'm going to take the Packers in this one. I just can't pick McCarthy game until I see some improvement from him. It was just a really brutal watch last week. They should be able to run. They've been running actually decently well, and I think there's an opportunity there, but you can only run so much. You have the biggest mismatch, I'm guessing. Yeah, it is the biggest spread of the week. Seahawks, Titans. Oh, no, it's tied with Ravens, Jets as of late.
That's another not so good one. But
yeah. What do you got for Seahawks, Titans?
Yeah, so this was obviously not a good game to kind of review, I would say. But I think I'm just going to go right off the top and say, but just the Seahawks simulated pressures and their overloaded pressures versus Tennessee's O-line that's given up, 41 sacks on the year, I think, right?
Yeah.
To Cam Ward. And Cam Ward is playing well, right? He's actually playing pretty, just throwing the ball on time, ripping it. I mean, especially the confidence he's throwing over the middle right now. And but I think just with what Mike McDonald is doing right now, just disguising pressure, overloading one side and also ripping simulated pressures off of that, it's unbelievable. It's crazy. It's some of the stuff that he's doing and that he's pulling off, and obviously it helps that he's getting home with 4. But yeah.
It's funny though, because he's getting home with 4, but they're not rushing straight up most of the time. I think it's worth taking a beat. It's a beautiful marriage of talent and scheme right now, that pressure front, right? Because the 4, it's always different guys. They're incredibly deep. Where they're rushing from, you alluded to the overloads. I think if I had to say there's one thing, Mike's good at a lot of things when it comes to defense, and they do stuff on the back end as well. That's cool. But I think when I watch the Seahawks front, and you and I have texted a little bit about how good they are, he's just so good at getting the matchup that he wants. I think that's what jumps out to me is oh, that's exactly the matchup he wanted.
Yeah. And you also just said there's those 4 guys getting home, right? They're not elite, right? They're good players. I wouldn't say they're in that elite category by any.
Outside of Williams,
I'm talking.
Yeah.
Right. I'm talking. The Miles Garrett.
Right.
The
no
TJ
Watt. Yeah. Right.
100%. So it's those guys are still producing though with Nwosu and Byron Murphy, both, I think he's and Nwosu's had it,
Mafe and Lawrence.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all good too, and they all like on every sack or pressure, like a different guy wins. It's kind of crazy.
It really is, and that's why the numbers like there's Nwosu has 5.5, Byron Murphy has 5, I think. Leonard Williams has 5 also. I think so they're very spread out. So I think DeMarcus Lawrence also with 4, but the one thing too, they just have a motor. They don't stop.
Yeah.
Especially with them. Ultimately getting home with 4, they don't stop. So I think that's just a huge thing for McDonald's defense.
It is relentless, and because the coverage has been good too. And so even if it's not quick pressure, I would actually. I mean, they get a decent amount of quick pressures and unblocked sacks, but there's also a lot of plays where coverage holds up. But you're right, like they're so good at containing and retracing, and it's just relentless. I mean, we talked about them a little bit on Tuesday, but the performance against Stafford was like eye-openingly good. Like it was not eye-opening because we've been talking about them all year, but yeah. Anyways, that's about as big of a mismatch as it gets. I imagine we are both on the Seahawks there.
Yep.
All right, let's wrap by talking about like actually a good game and a really important game. This could be Kansas City's last stand. I mean, I haven't looked at the like little playoff, how much they change, depending on a win or loss.
Right.
But this is huge not for the Colts, but for the Colts, with the Broncos winning and you want a chance at that number 1 seed. And I think that is important. But for Kansas City, they got to win. There's no losses from here on out. So you're on the Colts. I'll talk about the Chiefs side of this. There's a lot to unpack here. I'm looking at the Chiefs offense in this one. And because I do think with the Colts defense, there are places you can go after. There's a couple of things that I think they need to do in this game. Mahomes has to start connecting on those deep balls. I mean, I'm the biggest Patrick Mahomes apologist. Not the biggest. I'm friends with Nick Wright. But, like, he's just missing guys. Like, I mean, a couple of lanes against Denver, I was kind of, like, surprised. Yeah. I think Thornton is their best deep ball receiver, and he gets open. But and this
I was just going to say that was the one that he missed, right?
Oh
he missed him on
he's
that.
wide open. And I was just watching that, like he's not even under pressure. Like I just couldn't believe it. But notable because Indianapolis is 26th in 20-yard completions, 20 plus yard completions, and QBR, and they have 0 interceptions against deep balls this year. So that's an opportunity. Wow. The other thing I think is an opportunity is I think this could be a big Travis Kelce game. The Colts struggle to defend tight ends. They are 30th in success rate, 26th in yards per play, 28th in DVOA when quarterbacks throw to their tight ends. And especially with Sauce Gardner now in the mix, that to me, when I look at them, strikes me as like if I'm Kansas City, I'm not loving the receivers too much outside the numbers in this one. So I think this could be a big Travis Kelce game.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point too with Mahomes just not connecting with guys. And off of your point with Kelce, I think he does have a big game. And then I also Sauce, I thought he looked pretty good against the Falcons, when they played in London. And they should have they have Ward, I think, coming back this week, right?
I believe so, yeah, last I saw. Yeah, so they're fully armed battle station on defense.
Yeah, so healthy. And DeForest Buckner still on IR obviously hurts them. And that's kind of my key for the game, I think. Just Indy's defense versus designed off-tackle runs. Not to get so far in the weeds with that one, but it just, can KC actually run the football and establish a run early? Right. We can only hope, right?
You're right. It's the right point, especially watching them against the Falcons. And Kansas City.
Yeah. So and just with Kareem Hunt, that's what I'm looking for, and hopefully they can do that. Just with opposing teams running off tackles, it's over 60% of the time.
Yeah.
So they're teams are definitely going after them. On the at least off tackle, excuse me. But in Atlanta, I think it was 25 of 28 runs of just off tackle, or at least designed runs to the outside, I should say, with Bijan, however you want to call it. But that was one thing that
Yeah.
I watched when they were watching that film.
I actually wrote down, I was like, the Colts defense is lucky they don't have to face the Colts offense because I think Jonathan Taylor would go crazy. Yeah, but I think fortunately for Indianapolis, you're right. Kansas City should do that, but they've not been a good running team. I'll be interested in seeing if the Colts, especially with those cornerbacks now playing, lean into man coverage, just given the Chiefs' struggles against that. And if they do that, then I think Mahomes just has to scramble like crazy and do the Mahomes thing, and because that's probably their best chance consistently against man coverage.
Yeah, and that obviously that's how he shines, right, in the big moments, Mahomes. But yeah, I really am with you on the man coverage, like with Blackman, Sauce, Ward coming back, and Nick Frost is playing well. Bynum, in the back end, like they look like a good defense right now. The secondary is
good. Yeah. Latu's good. But I think, against good running teams, you're a little worried. I mean, so we haven't talked about the other side of the ball. There's a lot of things I worry about with the Chiefs. I always talk about attacking the backers. Colts are very, very good at that. Play action. Chiefs have a mid-run defense that struggles and runs mostly between the tackles, actually, for them. We did the fatal flaw for the Colts, and I talked about how their fatal flaw is just playing from behind, because Daniel Jones, when he's tied or ahead, his QBR is 5th. When they're behind, it drops to 30th. That's when you start to see some of those mistakes, especially when the run action is off the table but do we think that's going to happen in this one, right? Like, again, it falls upon the offense, I think, for Kansas City to keep this game script manageable, because I think game script is kind of the only thing I really worry about with Indianapolis right now.
Yeah, and I just love how the Colts run the football right now too. Just behind Quentin Nelson, Bortolini, Concave, like especially interiorly, they're so good. So I'd be curious to see how they're just running the football. Especially in this game. Can they? Obviously, they're very good at it. I'm not saying they're, but just the just being really picking up where they left off. With this
against
defense.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
so coming off of like the Jonathan Taylor insane game. Kansas City's actually favored. I guess that's more like Kansas City backs against the wall. We've seen this. I'm taking the Colts. They're a better team. Maybe they'll lose, but they're a better team.
Yeah,
they just are.
Yeah, no, and Mahomes has never lost. So excluding the Super Bowl, he's never lost 3 regular season games in a row, right? He lost Super Bowl, like the last Super Bowl, and then this year he's 0-2. So I guess that, but I'm saying excluding that Super Bowl, he's never lost 3 games in a row. So I'm taking the Chiefs. I'm taking Mahomes in this one.
So
we are split on this one, right?
No, I think Vegas is probably thinking along those lines too. And also, I think, people are a little bit worried about Daniel Jones. Now we've had a few weeks where we've gotten some of the old Daniel Jones, but they're not as good. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. The Colts are a better team. All right, let's take a quick break, come back, and talk about the rest of these games. All right, we're back. So I give myself Jets, Ravens, woof woof. This is the other massive spread game of the week. Tyrod Taylor starting for the Jets. Ravens defense has really improved, but they haven't faced like serious. I want to see them. I don't know when they're next. They have the Patriots at some point. That's going to be a really interesting test. But my focus here is Lamar Jackson, because it took me a second to get to the Browns, but the game, the offense still just ain't right. Like it's just not right yet. And the thing I wrote, there's a lot of things you can point to, but I think if I had to isolate, they're still not run the ball the way they did last year. That's a big thing. The quick game is not as efficient as it was last season. Like, I think people always think about Lamar and they think about the crazy structure plays, and it's like, oh my God, how did he do that? And he found a guy downfield. But the reality is he was just an assassin last year on quick game, and that's not been the case. But the thing I would emphasize and that I think is relevant to this game, if like this goes sideways for Baltimore, is just the sacks that he's taken. I've mentioned this before, and his play under pressure generally, but he last year had the second best pressure to sack ratio, or probably 4th best in football. This year, it's 31st. He is sacked 30% of the time when he's pressured.
Jeez.
And also his play under pressure, and this is partially because of those sacks. Last year it was second in QBR. This year it's 23rd. I don't think he's losing his athleticism. I'm not like he can't escape anymore. But I do think the offensive line isn't getting quite, they're not as good as they were last year. And it just feels like when I watch them, they aren't like, the run-pass conflict in particular isn't working like it did last season. But yeah, he just can't take those sacks, especially when they start playing better defenses.
Yeah, no, and I think their O-line has definitely missed a beat. I think 100% watching them. But then also switching it to the Jets linebackers, I think, off of play action, that Lamar has success this year throwing off of play action, especially with Drake May off, when they played Drake May and his intermediate passing and off of play action. Yeah, he's just
You're talking about
playing
the Jets linebackers.
The Jets linebackers.
Yeah.
So the Jets linebackers, I think, just not good in play action, right? They get sucked in the run game, and then they can't, get the depth and turn their heads and watch anything develop behind them. So I think that's going to be where Lamar needs to get to in this game, and at least get back to that and playing off of play action a little bit better. And they ran the ball well too last week against the
Yeah, they didn't use a lot of play action though against the Browns. That was interesting. I thought they would. It was
different. I get hopefully that changes, but
I imagine we're both on the Ravens here, and I don't really need to talk about Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mentioned the Browns. I gave you Browns Raiders, which is going to have a hilarious amount of eyeballs on it because of the news that Shedeur Sanders is starting. A great opportunity for him because we watched this Raiders defense on Monday Night Football. You're welcome to talk about him, but if there's another direction you want to go in, that is fine as well.
Yeah, no, and unfortunately, I was back and forth. I was thinking about it because they have been running the ball well out of 12 personnel, and then play action off of it with their two tight ends, and so I was like, maybe I can kind of tie Shedeur into that one, but I'm going the opposite side of the ball, and I'm going just Browns pass rush. Like it's just Myles Garrett versus these Raiders tackles.
Raiders offensive line
in general.
Woof. I mean, that was the other thing about the Ravens against the Browns is Myles Garrett. I mean, what Myles Garrett did in that game.
Oh my.
The craziest part too, I posted something about like how his get off was 0.6 seconds, which is like the highest.
It's insane.
And then you go back and watch, you can tell the tackles are so afraid of him. I'm not, an offensive line expert, but you can just tell by their sets, they're just like,
they don't want to come out of their stance, right?
Yeah, it's just like and then it's like watching like a lion toy with like an antelope. I've just never seen anything like it. I mean, he's been amazing his entire career. I would argue this is his best season yet, which is insane.
Yeah. I mean, and it's crazy that he's, has 5 sacks one game, 4 sacks last week. Like the man is not human, I believe. I think he's just different. He's built in a lab. So he's gonna definitely cause some havoc, I think, in this game. And Geno being sacked 31 times, I think what's 8th most, 4 last week against Dallas. So he's another QB that's struggling a little bit. So
this is the Browns defensive line versus the Raiders offensive line is probably the biggest mismatch in the outside of Seattle and Tennessee. It is. And it's going to make it, again, that adds to what I was saying, which is like, this is such an opportunity for Shedeur. Like, you're probably not going to be playing from behind here. So can they find a way to run the ball on Las Vegas? Can the Dallas, I know we keep talking about play action, but Dallas went crazy heavy play action against the Raiders, and guys were getting wide open. And obviously that's George Pickett's and CeeDee Lamb, but there's no reason why the level of difficulty in this for Sanders has to be high, as long as he doesn't take a million stupid like long sacks, which is the thing he does. So
right. Well, just smart decisions, right? Just get him acclimated a little bit in the game, get the run game established, and then start throwing a little bit short, get the corners and DBs playing up, and then that's where you would take your shots, obviously downfield. But yeah, we'll see.
I'm going Cleveland here because of the other side of the ball. I mean, I think this is gonna be very low scoring. And like Shador can be a point guard, he's capable of it. He's accurate. I mean, he threw a catchable ball for the win. That was, he's not. It's not. I think the Ravens were a tricky matchup in a couple of ways, and obviously he was thrust into action without preparation. You got the week, you got the opponent that's very beatable. This is the dream for him. And then if they do win, oh my God, the discourse is going to be crazy.
Yeah. It really is. And yeah, you're right. He's got a whole week to prepare. And so for that, I mean, I'm leaning more the Browns, right? Defensive line, what we talked about, versus the Raiders O-line. So I'm leaning Browns in this one.
All right. Jags Cardinals is me. The Jags are such a weird team. They're like one of the,
they really are.
I'm just like, what? So last week against LA, they have a bye, mercifully for Justin Herbert. The Jags just completely dominated the Chargers at the line of scrimmage, and that's largely because of the Chargers, quite frankly. I mean, that offensive line is right there with the Raiders, and the Titans. But I'm going to focus on the Jags offense here. So watching them back, I really love the way they ran the ball last week against LA, because that was a more like, okay, this is a good defense, and I thought the offensive line showed a lot of improvement. I thought the tight ends were blocking well. Johnny Munt, they had some nice inside zone runs out of 12 personnel. Both ETN and Tootin looked good to me. Yeah. And I kind of think that's the identity of this Jags team with Liam Cohen, is like at their best, a really good running team. And I don't know if Brenton Strange, when he's coming back, I've seen some reports, but I think he can be a big part of that going forward as well. I also think it's the right way to attack Arizona. This Arizona Cardinals defense is sneaky, tricky against the pass. They're 12th in DVOA against the pass, 24th against the run. I think you want to clarify. They do a lot of weird stuff, so you want to clarify things for Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, this group of pass catchers is diminished now. So I want to see if the Jags can repeat on the ground what they did this last week, because then it's like, do I want to take this Jags team seriously? If they can run the ball well down the stretch, then I start to think, okay, like it could be a difficult matchup for some teams.
Yeah, 100%. And I liked when I watched the Cardinals this past week, just how their pass catcher stepped up. Michael Wilson, with Marvin Harrison Jr. going down. McBride's obviously a stud, double-digit receptions and over 100 yards, a touchdown. But Michael Wilson just winning on contested catches in man, and just having that a wide catch radius, right? So I think he stepped up. Greg Dortch, also just being slippery in space and having the yak ability that he has, and so I think that's one of the going off of what you were saying, I kind of switched and paid attention to the Cardinals side, just with Jacoby also being somewhat, capable of kind of getting the job done, I guess, right? He
was fine against San Fran. I thought against San Fran. I mean, he threw it 1,000,000 times because they can't run the ball. But Jacksonville they have 13 interceptions, I think, too, and they're pretty good in their secondary too, or at least their pass coverage. So I still don't know what I think about this. The Jags defense got off to such a hot start, and
they played
Lloyd,
so good,
and then it's kind of taken a step. I think last week I have trouble knowing what to take about from watching them against the Chargers, just because it was such a feeding frenzy at the line of scrimmage. So I guess that would be another thing I want to see, because the Jags pass rush, I think, has played below their talent level. And Josh Hines-Allen went crazy against, again, LA though. So, but I think if I had to say something, and I'm going to pick Jacksonville in this, but moving forward, it's all about the offensive line for me. Can they move bodies? Can they, actually displace people at the line of scrimmage? Can they protect Trevor Lawrence? Because Liam Cohen's scheming it up, man. Guys get open, they're really good at attacking weaknesses, but I think if the offensive line can't be consistent, if they can't run the ball better, then I'm out on them.
Yeah, and I'm going Jacksonville too. I mean I know I hyped up the Cardinals pass catchers a little bit and Jacoby, playing somewhat decent, but yeah, I don't see them. I don't see them. I don't see Jacksonville losing this game.
All right, Eagles Cowboys, the rematch. I'm on the Cowboys. You have the Eagles in this one. There's a lot that's interesting about this game.
So excited for this one.
Oh, all right. What do you have as a key for the Eagles?
Yeah, it was tough watching the Eagles, at least their pass game, right? Hurts averaging whatever. I think it was only, a little over 4 yards per attempt versus Detroit. So I think that was one of the things I looked into, and then Dallas obviously run a lot more zone coverage, and so I think that's going to help the Eagles. Obviously they have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, but the creating their whole separation. They didn't do in my opinion, a great job, at least against Detroit, I should say, creating separation.
Hurts
right?
had a 36% tight window throw rate. To put that in perspective, the league high is Dak. It's always Dak.
Mm-hmm.
And his is 19%. Right. The NFL average is 15%. The Lions were just all over their passing offense. The predictability of it, which we talk about all the time, and it felt like they were running their routes for them, quite frankly. And like Devontae Smith is one of my favorite receivers in the NFL to watch at the top of his route, but it's like he can only do so much in terms of comebacks and hitches, and it was hard to watch.
And AJ Brown just slants, same thing, yes. Hitches, divert, just maybe occasionally running a go ball.
Are you buying though the Cowboys defense? Because I talked about I don't really know what to take from Jacksonville against LA. I think the same thing applies to Vegas. I'm not gonna watch any team against the Vegas offensive line and say, wow, that pass rush, or wow, they're really good at stuffing the run now, because Vegas is so bad.
Yeah. You're saying the Eagles.
Yeah. No, probably the Cowboys defense.
Cowboys
You're talking about
defense
the Eagles
line.
offense and how constipated.
Right. Right.
But do we actually believe in this Cowboys defense?
The Cowboys, and Quentin Williams played very, very well, right, last week. Yeah. So it and as Araku's playing well, I loved him coming out of college, right? So he's
Overshown was back too.
Overshown was back, right?
Well.
So I think I am, and I'm buying into this one, and it's tough, obviously, going against the Eagles. So I'm actually going to be leaning more Cowboys in this game, believe it or not.
Well, one more thing on the Cowboys defense, and I'll flip it to the other side of the ball. No Lane Johnson is massive in this one, right? Because the splits, I was pulling them before with and without Lane Johnson over the last 3 years. So since 2022, with him, their .12 EPA per play, without it's negative .03. They're 4.7 yards per carry with, 3.9 without. Jalen Hurts has a 68 QBR with, 43 without. Eagles fans will point out that AJ Brown and Devontae Smith missed some of those snaps as well, but it's still pretty stark. It's a line that's already been less dominant compared to last year, and he is their best offensive lineman. And to our point of our discussion, I am not totally convinced that the Cowboys' run defense is fixed, but the Cowboys' pass rush has actually been good all year, which is kind of funny, right? And after you trade Michael Parsons, and now they get Quentin Williams back, and they could be even better. So the Cowboys' defense has the potential to take advantage of that in a way. So I think for Philly, I'll be interested in seeing Philadelphia, if they try to run on Dallas, and if they've been so inconsistent on the ground, if they have any success doing that. And then on the other side of the ball, okay, so Eagles fans, you're listening to this, you're like, what the hell? The offense is constipated, Lane Johnson absence, terrible. But I have great news for you. Your defense absolutely slaps right now. And this is arguably the strength on strength matchup, right? Is Dallas's offense, which has been good most of the year, versus Philly's offense, which is peaking at the right time. I mean, there's a lot of things I think Dallas should do. Do you think there's anything that they can take advantage of? Because the Eagles defense has been so good over the last 2 weeks against the Packers and the Lions, who are good teams.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this matchup with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens and Quinyon Mitchell. You're right there. You can go on and on with the Eagles' depth. But I think watching the Cowboys on Monday night, they're just so good. At least Dak was, just with intermediate passes down the field, right? And being smart with the football is obviously just a huge key. But I think having George Pickens and unleashing George Pickens like he was, like George Pickens he's a freak, right? I don't know, top 5 receiver, maybe. I'm a huge fan of George Pickens. So I think, and Quinyon Mitchell has been very good too. So, I mean, if George Pickens on Quinyon Mitchell, I think CD will take advantage of it. And maybe they'll slide Cooper DeJean inside to match CD and, maybe
if I'm Dallas, I'm just probably, and this is what they did in week 1, I'm putting those receivers wide and saying, you want to kick out DeJean, because they just haven't been willing to do that. The Lions weren't able to take advantage of the Adoree Jackson played really well in that week, but we know what you do. You hunt Adoree Jackson.
That's every team's doing it, right?
So the good teams are. So yeah, if I'm Dallas, I think I'll be interested in seeing if Dallas tries to run the ball, because the Eagles' run defense until the trade, they were pretty up and down. They seem to have solidified, and that's not just about the trade. They also did Kobe Dean coming back, but I think what you don't want to do if you're Dallas is get into 3rd and long, because that's where I think the Eagles now have an advantage on teams because of how good the pass rush is. So it's just can you, like you said, Dak was so surgical on those intermediate throws. Can the offense play on time? Can you run the ball a little bit and if they play light boxes? And then can you hunt Adoree Jackson? To me, that's it. God, I don't want to pick Dallas. This is in Dallas too, which is a big deal for Dallas to be in Dallas because they're much better at home. The No Lane Johnson is really giving me pause here.
Some of those statistics you gave too are just crazy to me, right? Like it's eye-opening.
Oh my goodness. I think I'm going to take the Cowboys. Oh my God.
I agree. I know that's tough.
I might regret that. All right. 3 more games. We got one good one. One really good one, I think. This is not one. Falcons Saints is you. Dominique and I talked about how what a bummer just Falcons everything is right now. Penix's out for the year. That was just reported today. So this is going to be Kirk Cousins, Tyler Shuck. Do you have a key in this?
Yeah, and looking at this game too, one of the games, obviously it's not, a so-called one that stands out, but I had just Tyler Shuck getting the ball out quickly against Atlanta's defense. They love blitzing. They're, I think, have over 46.9%, I think, blitzing against opponents this year, and having 34 sacks. That's second behind, obviously, Denver's insane defense, but they're just pressuring QBs too, and I think this could play off of Tyler Shuck, his scrambling ability and keeping his eyes downfield and kind of making plays outside the pocket like he did against Carolina, and the deep ball to Olave was one. I know he stayed in the pocket, but that was just something that stood out. And then the Juwan Johnson touchdown, he scrambled out of it and found him. So I think that would be my key.
Tyler Shuck is athletic. I mean,
he is, yeah.
I was just looking at the rest of the Saints schedule. I mean, this is an opportunity for him. I really think, because nobody. It's hard to know what the Saints will do next year. But he was a 2nd-round draft pick, and I think he's played all right, and I also think he's getting better. And I think if you're a Saints fan, that's what you want to see, which is improvement as the year goes along. I love your point about his athleticism. That was something I liked about his college tape. He's really good at throwing on the move as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you held it. You just got to beat the blitz. That's it. They're going to blitz the hell
Yeah.
out of him. So
Yeah.
beat the blitz. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Falcons, you saw they cut Brandon Cooks. They're so bad.
Yeah.
Just
They really are.
Mickey Loomis. What the hell, man? I'm taking the Falcons, or the Saints, pardon me. In large part because, oh my God, Kirk Cousins looked really rough when he came in for Penix.
He really did. He really did. You can tell that age has caught up a little bit.
All right, Rams Bucks. This is a good game. This is a great game. Bucks 6-4, been on a losing streak. Really tough competition, unfortunately for them, that continues this week because they're going up against the Rams, who. You guys, I do my top 5 every Thursday or Friday. I've been posting them on the Mina Show Instagram, and the Rams are gonna be very high. They've been in the top 5 now, but yeah, that defense is awesome. You and I were talking a little bit about it. I'm gonna focus on the other side of the ball though. The Rams against the Bucks defense. I think a major injury to watch in this, and this is, I think, a key for how the Rams should approach this, is whether Jamel Dean plays, who's the Bucks' best cornerback by the young cornerbacks up and down. Benjamin Norrison got cooked pretty bad with Dean's absence, but because if Dean's out, it's like, all right, let's get Adams, Puka, it doesn't matter. You can go after you can find matchups. But if he plays, and maybe even if. Regardless, but they should do this regardless. I think this could be another big Rams 13 personnel game. It was really interesting, against Seattle. They came in with that, and Seattle always matches it with dime, and they just ran on them. And at first it looked like, but then the Seahawks kind of tightened up. And so then they went back. I'm sure you noticed this. The Rams went back to just playing the hits.
Yep.
Problem is for Tampa. So Tampa matches 12 and 13 with base almost all the time, meaning they put 3 linebackers on the field. It's a problem because their linebackers are not good in coverage. So if I'm the Rams, if I'm Sean McVay, I put my tight ends back on the field. And if they put those linebackers on the field, I am throwing on them all day long because that is a massive mismatch that favors LA.
And you definitely took my key, Mina. So that's basically what I had too. I think just covering the Bucks for covering tight ends and running backs out of the backfield, their second and third level defense, they struggle. They really do. And I think the amount of blitz may hurt them, right? The amount of, blitz and DBs, whether they're in sub packages or just in base and blitz and linebackers or vice versa, whatever. But I think they get lost of seeing at least running backs, so to speak, out of the backfield. But them covering tight ends and especially them in 13 personnel, it could be trouble for them.
On the flip side, so the Rams played, I talk about the Seahawks playing dime, and the Rams were in dime an insane amount against Seattle, and they basically were daring Seattle to run in Seattle. So the Rams play dime already at the highest rate in the NFL, and 3 safeties on the field, and Seattle just couldn't run on them because Seattle's a bad running team.
Mm-hmm.
The Bucs are not a bad running team, and they've been up and down, but they looked better certainly against Buffalo, and think they're going to get Bucky Irving back. I think so. I've been burned by this before, but when I Googled Bucky Irving just now, everything says we think he's back week 12. Even if he's not back, but especially if he is, I do think that if the Rams go light, they should be able to run on them similarly. And I would use a lot of the same stuff that they did against Buffalo, honestly, because I think the Bucs can go back to being like a very good rushing team. And I also think that's how, even though statistically the Rams have been great in run defense, I would still go after them that way.
Yeah. I also think the Bucs run schemes right now, especially in particular, just their gap schemes, right? They're just counter and wham. Yeah. They're running the ball. I know we spoke on it earlier, but the GT counter, and with Wirfs pulling, and lighting up who was it, Poyer,
Poyer, yeah.
So I
Really
think that, yeah, it really was. Yeah, he lit him up. But I think that, and they've been doing it all year. So I think if they could somehow establish, getting the run game going early and often, I think they could, shock some people in this one. Because me personally, I think the Rams are one of the best teams in the NFL right now. They proved it, against Seattle. So
yeah, the Rams pass rush is a real problem. It's funny because we talked about how great the Seahawks are getting matchups. Yeah. The Rams in that game were unbelievable at it. I do like this. I feel like the Bucs offensive line is getting healthy. Mayfield, I think you need to see more consistency from. I think he deserves some of the blame for the Bucs loss against Buffalo. It was more so about just like Josh Allen going nuclear and then not being able to keep up. But he hasn't connected on the deep ball. And again, some of that is the injuries. I get it. But, early in the season, it was like he was like just unstoppable throwing downfield. And he was so accurate. And now I think you have seen some regression from him as the season goes along. So he has to be just early season Baker in this one. I'm going LA here. I think they're just so good on both sides of the ball. But, maybe if we get a little bit of a magical Baker performance, Bucky comes back, they can make this close.
Right, make it interesting. And I know we've talked about it too, but just Chris Shula, just a credit to him on that side of the ball, right? When you alluded to their pass rush and just the way their secondary is disguising their coverage post snap too right now, it's unbelievable. And they I'm trying to think, like, because I've been going back and forth too in this game, and I think I'm leaning more Rams. I just think they're too good right now.
The Rams. You mentioned Chris Shula. I just want to mention this because I was just thinking they must have close to the cheapest defense in the NFL. I know the Eagles probably do because, the Eagles have so many rookies who play and whatever. But the Rams. This is players, NFL defense, positional spending. All right. Well. I know even without looking, I just tell you the Rams have got to be near the bottom of the NFL. And like he deserves so much credit too for, we talked about like the specific scheme and what he was doing against Sam Darnold, but like he is getting unbelievable play out of like reclamation projects, Emmanuel Forbes, young players, their safety, like Camp Kitchens has been so good for them. Older vets as well. It's like, it's not, there's a lot of draft capital up front, and then behind it, it's a very young group. Omar Spates was undrafted and seventh rounder or undrafted, one of the two, and Nate Landman's been really good for them at linebacker. Like what a testament to that coaching staff.
Yeah, and I'm a huge Nate Landman fan. Forbes last week played great. What you said, and Kitchens making it tough for Darnold last week. So, you know what too is the Rams. Last week, again, I know we said the 13 personnel running the football. They ran the ball very well in 11 personnel. That's kind of what, especially towards the red zone, right? That's kind of where they got out of it. And out of 13, I'm saying, because obviously they love going 13 personnel down there. But having 11 personnel with Puka and then Jordan Whittington, like those two in the run game is dangerous. So I think that can give them problems too in this game.
All right, let's wrap with Monday Night Football. The shocking Carolina Panthers, the 6-3, right? 6-3. The hell. 6-5. 6-5. 6-3. 7-4. These are the two. Like, how the hell are they have these records teams? I feel like the Niners and the Panthers. The Niners are favored by 7. Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
All right. So my key in this one, we can talk about whether or not we agree with that, I guess. But my key in this one is who can take advantage of the deficiency at linebacker. Niners without Fred Warner, you have seen teams attack that. You saw that Arizona last week went after their backers a decent amount. D. Winters, they got in coverage a few times. And then on the other side of the ball, Christian Roseboom is questionable. Seems like he won't play. And then Trevin Wallace hasn't practiced. So there's the starting linebackers.
Both out.
Who loves attacking linebackers? Kyle Shanahan. So I just feel like, and then, Bryce Young's coming off his best game of the season. Brock Purdy looked decent last week. So I just feel like both of these offenses can be laser focused on attacking that position because we're looking at backups on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and the Panthers' run defense too is sneaky good.
Yes,
you know what I mean? When I was watching them, their D line, Derek Brown deserves a lot more credit than he deserves. Yeah. Wharton, Bobby Brown, Scorton, the rookie, they're playing very well up front. So I think with San Fran trying to maybe run the ball a little bit, I don't know. We'll see if they can manage. So
I would emphasize more Christian McCaffrey in the passing game if I'm them and go after 100%. The backers in coverage. Yeah. But I love your point about the run. I mean, because I know I joke a lot about how I don't know which Panthers we're going to get on any given day. But if I had to say something about this team that I feel concrete, the run defense is, it went from being non-functional last year, the worst in the NFL, to shutting teams down. And I go into every week feeling pretty good about them, and credit to Jiro Evero as well. But Brown coming back and the players have been phenomenal. This is what do I know about the Carolina Panthers 2025? Much better run defense. I feel good about saying that. I feel good about how much I love Ted McMillan. I don't know what to tell you about Bryce Young, man. Week to week, he was so good last week, but then the week before, it's
hit or miss.
Yeah, I don't know. He was awesome last week. Awesome. Are we going to see that guy again?
And some of those throws that he was making, Mina, were astonished. It's almost really good. Wow. Yeah. He looked very good, and we've talked about how much we like Tedero McMillan, and he looked good, right? I know the Falcons played a little bit of all, but they mixed it up a little bit, but more zone, I should say. But they, at least in his, targeting him. But yeah, it looks like they're on the right line to kind of keep climbing. So we'll see.
McMillan should also be a mismatch against these Niners cornerbacks. I'm going to go with San Francisco here just because a backup linebacking group against Kyle Shanahan has never worked. A grid linebacking group. But if we get another hot Bryce game, I could easily see the Panthers pulling this off. It's just so touch and go for me with him. So
yeah, the Niners secondary too is just not, they haven't been playing well. And what your point earlier too with Niners, just their linebackers and having just the play action off of too. I know, like I said, we've talked a lot of play action on this podcast, but it's Bryce Young last week was 9 of 11. He's throwing for 80% or over 80% of the time last week. And it was one of the crazier Bryce Young games that we've seen, but I'm leaning towards.
Take Carolina. Do it.
I am. I think I am. I think I'm taking Carolina in this game, which is they're +7.
That's crazy. That's insane. That's what it says right now. It's in San Francisco, but I still don't think that's. I thought Purdy looked good coming back. And this is why I'm picking Niners offense. I think the offense is obviously the healthier side of the ball, and I think the Kyle Shanahan, but will be successful. But yes, I think this could be a sneaky good game. All right. Well, that wraps it up for this week. We've got all the games. Luke, I don't even think you're on social media.
I know. I feel like you can't find me. No, I am.
That's good for you, man.
Yeah, right. It's Twitter's at Luke Strnad _ and then the same with I guess Instagram and all that. Yeah, I guess that's one thing I gotta work on is getting some social media out there. Right?
No, don't. You're living life right, my guy. Luke does an amazing job working on NFL Live for us, so we all really appreciate his work and his match reports, as you guys saw here. He's got great information. I appreciate you coming on this week. This was a ton of fun. Appreciate everyone at Omaha Productions who make this podcast: Kirsten Sebecki, Owen Saylor, Jack Foster, Tucker Tashton. We'll be back to talk about the Monday night game with Dominique next week, which I'm hoping is good. I think it'll be good. And picking some winners and woofs from the week. You can check that out, youtube.com/@MinaKimes. If you don't listen to this audio, if you're watching this, you want to subscribe, you can also find it wherever you get your pods.